topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the show. Next. As I looked up other podcasts, there's a lot of Next. Hi, welcome to Next. And this is a show, there are a lot of Next on podcasts, but the reason this is so different from the others, I guess that's a big word these days, is that really, we're talking about people and their next careers, and really people who are in mid-career who really don't love what they're doing or want to be in something next and don't quite know how to get there, and people who have had wonderful careers and are doing something exciting in their latter part of their life, and really continuing on with great careers and not listening to what others say that, oh, you should be retired or you should be this or you should be that. They're creating really wonderful lives, which brings me to Phil Dixon. Phil is, and Phil, welcome aboard. How are you?
I am great.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. So Phil and I have known each other a very long time, and we've done a lot of interesting things together out in California. And Phil is still doing really interesting things. And he started a brain-wise or brain-based survey assessment, coupled that with psychology, and really was able to help people get greater insight into themselves and to coach people around that. And it's really exciting to see what he's been able to do. And he's still continuing that. And what's interesting is, we had a chat the other day, and what's interesting is that, no matter what age you are, if you're older, it's still good to get coaching. So Phil, tell me why you got into this and why you got into the brain-wise coaching area.
Well, I need to go back a little bit. So I did my master's degree when I was 60, and I was approximately twice the average age of the other people in the group.
Right.
But I had a great time. It was counseling and coaching to change. It was learning about how organizations, teams, and people go through change, which was what I'd been doing anyway.
Mm-hmm.
One particular thing made it different was they introduced the neuroscience of the brain.
Right.
And I went, that's what I've been looking for the last 20 years. How can we be more effective at coaching? So
Right.
I think the latest phrase is pivot. I pivoted everything I was doing with the understanding of the brain. Long and short of it, wrote a couple of books. And then
Great books, by the way, Phil.
They certainly
They're great
are.
books.
They're certainly heavy duty books. Let's put it that way. I wanted to balance things between being approachable and being rigorous.
Yeah.
And so maybe I erred on the side of rigorous, but who knows? Anyway, then people ask me, well, how do I assess my brain? And so we're all driven by a balance between threats and rewards. So I identified, 47 different types of threats which people respond to, and that's what the assessment came about from. Yeah,
it was great. And don't you have an acronym, SAFE?
That's an old acronym I used to use. The new one is what I call the 5P models.
Oh, give us that one.
It's so we're driven by 5 things basically. We're wanting protection. The brain seeks protection. It seeks participation with others. It seeks prediction about what's going on. It needs to have some sort of pleasure and reward, and it needs a purpose. And so it's the 5P model.
Well, I like the 5P model actually better than I like the SAFE model, but that was when we were out in California trying to be safe.
That was exactly right. That's things change in the brain world very quickly.
They do. Are you seeing any impact of AI on any of this?
Huge impact,
Oh,
major,
tell me.
major impact.
Yeah.
So a couple of ways, some of which we're doing ourselves, and that is the way the assessment used to work is that you go online, you answer the 47 questions plus some ecological questions around the individual, and then it would be sent up to a processing unit, which would then produce a report. Then I'd take the individual through the report. So now what we've done, and we could not have done this before even a year ago, we couldn't have done this, is what we've done is we've taken all those 47 things. I'll give you an example. The need to be recognized by people that are important to you. That's part of participation. And, what is it? How do you behave, or what's the impact to yourself if you score either high or low on that? What's the impact to other people? What's the impact if you overplay that? And so we've done all of those interpretations through AI for all 47 different facets. And so
that's
now
pretty robust.
Oh, it's a great, it was a tedious piece of work, but I could not have done it without AI. But now, if Linda takes the assessment, we can also do some psychometric analysis immediately and say, this is your strengths, this is how you're likely to play out. These are the things that you might be worried about. This is what's going to cause you to enter into stress. And so it's truly it's a predictive brain assessment.
I need that, Phil.
You can do it immediately after the show.
Okay, good. I need it. So why tell me a little bit about coaching being good at any time in your life, and even particularly now as people transition out of corporate jobs or other kinds of things. How can they use coaching, and what's your thinking there?
Well, first of all, I've been doing coaching for 35 years or perhaps even longer. And so therefore I'm biased in the fact that I see the world through at least two lenses, one the coaching lens and the other is the brain lens. And so what I've found is that when people understand their brain, let me stop for a moment. There's nothing we do or think about or respond to that doesn't start right between our ears.
Yeah.
Everything, whether it's a great idea, whether it's to go out skiing or whatever it might be, it all starts with something going on in the brain. And so if I can coach people on understanding their brain, it gives them a platform, if you like, upon which to understand what causes them to behave the way they do. I think so that that's number one. Number two, there are so many changes happening around us at the moment, and what is it? When the plates come together and change, I mean, there are major changes going on. One of which is AI, and one of which is the geopolitical changes that are going on at the moment. So huge changes, and I have no doubts our brains will adapt and respond. They've done so before. When Gutenberg press came along, people said, "Oh my gosh, the world's going to end." Well, clearly it didn't.
Right.
But it's the same level of change. Our brains weren't designed to be able to read, for example.
Yeah.
And so the brains adapted. We learn how to read. We'll adapt and learn how to use AI and leverage it.
So did you see Matt Schumer did an article recently, and I believe he is the CEO of one of the big AI companies. I'm looking it up right now, but he really went into the fact that AI at the moment, I'm wondering what implication this has for coaching too. Really at the moment that AI is gaining empathy, it's gaining ability to really emulate human behavior and human thinking in a way that's almost staggering. And have you seen that article?
I didn't see the article, but I have to agree with him. I think he's right.
Yeah.
It's there's going to be a fine difference between someone emulating empathy and
Yeah.
empathy itself.
Right.
So when I say someone, I'm actually
Or
meaning
it, whatever. Yeah. Right.
I actually use the AI agent I use. I actually have a name for her. And now I know
Oh,
it's an it, but her name is
yeah.
female. It's Rain. And so,
Yeah.
I have a conversation with Rain on a regular basis.
Yeah. Interesting. Interesting. How do you think that's going to affect the coaching industry? I asked Marshall, we both know Marshall Goldsmith.
Right.
I asked Marshall about this. He's doing a Marshall bot. But how do you think it's going to impact coaching?
I think it drastically is going to.
Yeah.
I think, for many people, I don't know what the right phrase is here, so I'm going to invent it. I'll call it entry level coaching,
Mm,
i.e., I need some help to think about and fill in the blank. There's
mm,
no reason to pay $250 or $500 an hour to an
right.
individual. You can probably get 90% or maybe even greater from an AI coach.
Mm,
So I think from that level, whether or not someone's going to have the sort of the AI agents are going to have the subtlety that we might want to bring, or at least think we bring. I think that's open ended. I think there will
yeah.
still be a place for coaching, but it won't be at the entry level. It'll be at a more advanced level.
At a much higher level. Now, I want to go back to that other question I asked you about is, coaching people or seeking coaching, and obviously you do because you have Rain, but seeking coaching and value of coaching for people in their 70s
Yeah,
or 80s, actually.
there's no time when it stops. I don't think.
Mm,
I'm actually 76 tomorrow.
good for you.
And
Happy birthday.
No, thank you. And so I was talking to a couple of my colleagues 2 or 3 months ago, anticipating being 76, and went, I wonder what the next 4 years looks like. What's it going to be
Mm,
like to be 80? And
hmm.
so they're coaches, and I asked them, would they, do a reciprocal turn for me and start to
Hmm.
coach me? And they
Hmm.
did, and we had some wonderful conversations. But what I realized was that we have one coaching model,
Mm,
right? Which each coach tends to have a model that they land on,
right.
and they're comfortable
Exactly.
with, right?
Yep.
And they would bring that to bear whether the person was 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, and perhaps even 80. And
Mm,
I
yep.
started asking the question, well, wait a minute, does one model work for every age? And I don't think it necessarily does.
Huh.
So that's I mean, literally, this is 1 week old thinking at the moment.
Mm,
And so what I'm starting to do is sort of say, well, what are the different coaching thought processes that we need to bring for people in their 60s or 70s or 80s that that wouldn't necessarily apply. I mean, one of the things I've always done in coaching is imagine you're, to a 40-year-old, or imagine you're 75, and what would the 75-year-old advise the 40-year-old?
right. Right.
Right. Well, that model
That's a
doesn't seem to
different
be very
dynamic.
relevant.
Right. What would the 85-year-old advise the 76-year-old? You know,
Exactly. Um,
you're right. That's a different dynamic.
so there's a different dynamic occurs. Also, I think some people say it's harder to change when you get older. I actually personally have found it easier to change
Mm,
because I'm less attached to those things that, as we grow older, things become less and less, important to us, and we get less and less attached to them.
right.
So I think there's a dichotomy there. So, in some
Yeah.
cases we ossify, but in some cases it's easier to change.
And what's interesting with this thought process. Actually, I think your survey would really have a lot. It would be interesting to use that survey with older people. And the reason I say that is because the dynamics do change. And what they may have answered when they were 50, let's say, may be very different than how they answer at 70, 75, 80. Because one of the big things that seems to be going on for older people is loneliness. And
Yes.
maybe there's some insights in there that could help them. And I guess I have to say us because I'm in my early 70s. So, and that could help them and maybe have a better picture that could answer that question you asked. What are the next 4 years going to look like for one?
Right.
So, have you
And
thought about that? That's a business line, Phil.
I think it certainly is a business line. I haven't spent a lot of time on it. I've got a few other things going on at the moment, but I think it's really a good opportunity. We know that there's a sort of a low end on which that model probably doesn't apply. I've actually worked with somebody who was 21, but I've never worked with anybody younger than that. Or I suspect that there's an application in there, but I suspect the dynamics of that application would change. And we've never ever looked at some sort of trend line on the different responses by age. We actually don't collect. We've got about 500 people in the database at the moment. We don't collect age.
Oh, you don't collect age?
No, but you've just given me that as we go into the next version, we will collect age.
Yeah, I think you really should. And then I think you should add an older population and see what, see, here are two researchers talking to each other and see
Right.
what the what the dynamics are and if anything changes. I mean, that could be fascinating, I think.
I think there's certainly a white paper to be written on that, if nothing else.
Yeah, I'll be your first guinea pig because I want to do that survey after.
You got it.
So what did you come up with for your next 4 years? For
Still
80, what was the feedback you got?
Well, a
If
couple
you
of
want to
things.
share.
Yeah, I'm happy to. A couple of things that came through is one of the things that we typically do in coaching is what we call a worldview or mental model, and to establish mental models on that people carry around mostly non-consciously, and to determine whether they're still useful or not.
Right.
And so
usually they're not.
That's an interesting one. Usually they're not.
Yeah.
But they're usually not for people in their 40s or 50s. One of the things that we did was we went through the mental models that I carry, and I'm very happy with them.
Wow, interesting.
And so there were two coaches working with me, and there was a couple I went, yeah, maybe I should use that a little less nowadays. But in general, we identified, I think, 20 different mental models. We always got hundreds, but 20 I identified, big ones. And I went, yeah, I'm actually happy with those at the moment.
Do you think that they adjusted from when you were younger?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mental models and that's why I think there's different questions to be asked when you're in your 20s and the world is beginning to open up. I believe the world is still opening up for me now. I'm in 76, but the way in which it's going to open up, I used to love skiing.
Yeah, me too.
Right.
Something about knees got in the way.
That's exactly what I was going to go with, hips, but hips and knees get in the way of me doing a diamond run downhill now.
Right.
And so, talking about what I want to do, it's not so much about things that I might want to achieve physically. It's much more about things I want to achieve, with other people. I mean, my purpose on the planet at the moment is to help people understand their brains.
Yeah.
And so, our purposes become different. And so I think we need to refine how we coach older people.
Yeah, I think that's really true. I just think it's fascinating. When you said that to me, it sort of grabbed me because, we grew up with mental models, or at least I did. And I think women and men have some different mental models, actually. And I have found the older I get, those mental models are not serving me, and they're hard to let go of because they've been so ingrained in females and or in males that this is how you're supposed to behave, this is how you're supposed to be, and they're not serving, well, at least in my case, they're not serving me anymore, but it's hard to switch them. How do you switch your mental models?
First of all, number one, identify them.
Yeah, right. Right.
And some of them are difficult to identify. But again, so here's something that AI does help us.
Yeah.
One of the things we do is, like a life story. You record your life story. What happened when how far back can you remember what was going on? We ask a whole bunch of questions about it. What happened then? What happened when you were at early school? What happened at late school, university? And we go through all those. It used to be the coach would have to be very attuned to listening in and help that individual understand what might be underneath those decisions, or when things worked, when they didn't work. Now we can just have the individual talk, get a talk to text translation, feed it into AI, and say, AI, what do you see in the way of mental model themes? And
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
pop straight out. I mean, that takes 20 seconds now.
Right. Right. Which AI, I'm not asking this for a advertisement or anything, but there are a lot of different AI engines that you can use. Which do you see are the best? Because they're all coming out different ones. I can't even think of any actually. ChatGPT, obviously, but there's a lot of versions of that.
I use Copilot, which
Copilot.
is part of, and the reason I do is because I do everything on the Microsoft suite, and
I see.
Copilot is integrated into the Microsoft suite. So
Okay.
that is the most useful. But if you ask Copilot to produce a diagram or your flow chart or something, it just will throw up on you. It just doesn't do it. But now for that, I will go to a different one, which is Notebook LM. If I want to produce a diagram or something like that, or a set of slides, Notebook LM is far better at it.
Wow.
If you do a search on AI about the AI tools, they'll give you a little list of what's best at doing what.
Oh, I'm going to do that. I'm absolutely going to do that. I mean, I do use AI. I like it. It does stuff. You know what? You said you got your master's when you were 60. I got my master's when I don't know, 40, maybe something like that. But my PhD when I was 59. And boy, do I wish I had AI. Well, maybe I was a little younger than that, but did I wish I had AI to do all that research and the bibliographies and all that other kind of stuff? It would have been way, way
No
easier.
kidding.
Way easier.
We spend our time in that type of thing with all the what I'll call the back part trivia, not the actual thinking itself.
Right.
It's to prove to old dons in Oxford and Cambridge that you can obey the rules.
Yeah. That you know how to do research. Oh, yay.
Yeah.
Well, I want to ask you. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was about to say I was never good at breaking the rules. Sorry. I was never good at sticking to the rules.
You and I are exactly the same. Rule? What rule? I don't know about that rule. I'm not going to do that. So as we're sort of approaching a little bit towards the end of this, I wanted to ask you, so you branched out into the restaurant business. So tell me about that. That's such an interesting branch out. I would imagine you'd be great at it, to tell you the truth.
Well, so a branch out sort of implies growth and conscious choice. There wasn't a lot of conscious choice about it. Bottom line is, we lived in California, as you know. We moved to a little town in North Carolina called Oxford. And a couple of people there had the idea of creating a very high-end restaurant and a distillery. And one thing led to another, and I became an investor. Not a huge investor, but basically a 5% investor in the business.
Nice. Yeah.
And I thought I would just stay there as a patron of the restaurant, a imbiber of the results of the distillery, and that would be the end. Gradually, over the following year and a half to 2 years, I got more and more involved until about 3 months ago, my partners asked me to step in and be the CEO.
Cool.
So that's what I'm doing at the moment. And I thought it would take 25, 40% of my time, but it's over the last couple of months, it's been quite heavily involved, and
Full time.
I'm having a great time.
You're having a ball. Maybe that's your next 4 years. Who knows?
Well,
Who
I
knows?
hope not. I
Yeah.
hope to do this for a year and then get back to. So my dream for the next year is to take all the work that I've done as a neuroscientist, brain researcher, etc., and put it into a little thing called an iPhone, so that it's actually available to leaders when they're about to have a session or whatever. They can just call up their iPhone, whatever they want to call it, and say, "Hey, I'm about to meet with Linda. What do I need to remember here?"
Yeah. That's brilliant. That would be great. Lots of people would love that. I'd love that.
So
Well,
that's the,
Phil, go ahead.
that's so restaurant for about a year, and then move into that one for the final 3 years of that time.
That's great. And
Meet me back here when I'm 80, and we'll see what the conversation is.
well, I definitely do. Now, how do people get a hold of you? That's because that survey you have is phenomenal. I've done it way, 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 way back when, and I'm going to do it again after
Yep.
this show. Um, how do people get a hold of you for that survey? And it sounds to me like it's age agnostic. So, somebody who's 70 or somebody who's 65 and thinking about what they're going to be doing, how do they get a hold of you, Phil, to get more
So
engaged in what you're doing?
so probably I'm happy to give people my email address. It's if that's allowed on the show, is it?
I think it is. I don't know that it's not. Go ahead.
Well, I was always one for breaking the rules anyway, so
Yeah.
I'll break them right now. Phil
Okay.
Dixon 1, Phil Dixon numeric 1 at mac.com.
Perfect. Perfect. And one final thing, what one piece of advice do you have for somebody who's in their 70s and trying to transition to their next best life?
Be curious. Be inventive. What could it be? Identify. You said one piece of advice. I'm breaking the rules.
Yeah, go ahead.
Find out what your mental models are about what the next 4 or 5 years looks like,
Yeah,
and decide whether those mental models work for you. Hey, if I'm 70, I can't do fill in the blank. Well, yes, you can most of the time. It's identifying them, and then the other thing I do is find something that so it symbolized that mental model, and give it to someone else.
Nice. I like that. I like that a lot. Well, thanks a bunch, Phil, for joining the podcast. Well, this is a live show. It streams on W4CY radio, but TV, and I am going to take a trip out to Oxford. It's not that far. I keep threatening to do that, and that's when I'll take the test, or maybe I'll take it now or whatever. And I want to see this brewery and this restaurant.
You're welcome to come on over. We've got last count was we got 350 5-star reviews.
Wow, fabulous.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll get 351.
Well, I'll keep my fingers crossed.
Thank you very much,
right.
Phil. Have a great rest of your day, and excited to stay connected.
Thanks for having me. Take care.
Okay. Bye.